You're listening to the weekly Parsha podcast, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Shemesh Israel 5775, 2015. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Emor. In the Parsha this week, we have numerous topics. I'd like to focus in chapter 23, verse 15. The Torah tells us, it's speaking about the holidays that we have. It speaks about Pesach, Passover. It speaks about Shavuos. But it tells us that in between Pesach and Shavuos, this very time period that we're in right now, currently, we have a countdown. We count 49 days from Passover until Shavuos. Now, there's a bunch of questions that we're going to ask, and the first one that strikes us is that when we think of this time, the first thing that we see is that it's not called Svira l'Shavuos. It's not called counting the weeks or counting until the holiday of Shavuos, receiving the Torah. It's not called counting of the Torah, counting build-up, da-da-dam. That's not what it's called. It's called Sfiras Omer, which means counting of the Omer. What is the Omer? It's a special sacrifice which was brought on the second day of Passover. And when we start to read about the Omer, we start to see that there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that we don't know. This is in chapter 23, verse 15. Usvartam lachem mi'macharas haShabbos. You shall begin counting from the day after the first day of Passover. Miyom aviachem es Omer hatzenufa. From the day that you bring the Korban Omer, the special sacrifice, the special offering, really, more accurately, which was waved. There was a movement which we'll speak about. They took this offering and they waved it in four directions. They waved it up and down. We'll see about that. Sheva Shabbos tamimas tiyana. 7 complete weeks it shall be. The counting goes for 7 weeks. Now the first question that we have to try to understand is a question that we asked. Why is it called Sfiras HaOmer? The counting of the Omer. What is the concept of this Omer offering? Question number 2 is, why is it called, what's the significance of the weeks? We have to count the weeks. And as we count, we don't just count the number of days. We count the number of days, but then we say how many weeks we've been going through. So for example, tonight, on Friday night, we're going to say, Hayoim Shmoina V'Esrim Yom, today is 28 days, Shehim Arba Shavuos Laimer, which is 4 weeks of the Omer. So we speak about the days, but we also speak about the weeks. We count to 7, and we count 7 times to 7. Why all of this focus on the number 7? Why all this focus on counting the weeks? Now, when we start to try to explore what's the significance of this Korban Omer, this offering of the Omer, we start to get hints. When we look at the Midrashim, what's going on here? One thing that we see, the Torah tells us, is that it was an offering which was brought from Sa'irim, specifically from barley, whereas all the other korbanos, all the other offerings that were brought in the temple, where the mincha was something which was brought from chita, the flour offering was brought from wheat, other offerings were brought from wheat. On Shavuos we bring wheat, but when it came to this one and one other case, one other offering, we find that it was brought specifically from Sa'irim, from barley, which, as our sages tell us, is animal fodder. It's animal food. Now, the other place that we have an offering which is brought from animal fodder, so to speak, from Sa'irim, from barley, is the Sotah, a wayward wife, a woman who has defied her husband. Her husband said to her, I don't want you to be seen with that man again. She went and she was private. She was alone with him in a house, and there were witnesses, etc. So she has to bring a special korban. She has to go through a whole tahalich, a whole process. And part of that process is she brings an offering from barley. And as our sages tell us, she did a maisa behema, she did an animal act by defying her husband, being alone with this man. Whether or not she actually had relations with him, she still did something wrong. And so by doing that, she has to come with a kapara, she has to atone for herself with an offering of barley. But here we see also there's an offering of barley that's being brought on the second day of Pesach. And there's a parallel. The Midrashim connect the concept of Sotah to the concept of the Omer. And the question is why? What is this aspect here? Another concept that the Midrash talks about in regard to the Korban Omer is that the Midrash says, and this is really deep, so focus in here. The Midrash says that in the 6 months prior to Pesach, prior to Passover, prior to the month of Nisan, so we have the rainy season in the land of Israel. And the Jewish people have gone through 6 months of winter and they've seen how Hashem has provided for them rain. Now it comes the time of Nisan, and Pesach begins the time of the harvest, begins the time of Tevuah, of reaping the grains that have grown throughout the winter. But the Jew, as he looks out on his field, he can become complacent. He can think, look, the rains have already come. Everything is fine. I don't need God anymore. You know, it's like the guy who says he's driving around in the parking lot. He can't find a parking spot. And he says, God, please help me find a parking spot. And he comes, and there right in front of him, a car pulls out. He's like, okay, thanks, God. I found a spot. It's all right. You don't have to help me. You know, it's like after 6 months of receiving all of the bounty, all of our needs, the rain coming, all of a sudden we have what we need. It's easy to forget about God. Now the Medrash says that's part of the reason why we bring the Korban HaOmer. The Korban HaOmer is to say, look, God, even though all of our needs have been provided for, and we're about to start reaping, we're about to start getting all of those things that we need, nevertheless, there's still something that can happen, the Medrash says. What can still happen is that there can be ruchos rois, evil winds, talalim ran, there can be evil dew, things that are not productive, that can affect the crop, that can destroy what we've already received, or what we're about to receive. In recognition of this, the Jew brings the Korban HaOmer. He brings a special offering to God, which is the first of the grains. The Sa'arim, the barley, was the first thing that would grow at this time, Passover time. And it would take a little bit longer for the wheat to grow. The first grains he would bring, and he would say, God, I give this to you. And he would do an act of tenufa. He would wave it in 4 directions. And the Medrash says, and Rashi brings this, that he would do it in the 4 directions. He would make this movement of waving it in 4 directions. First of all, to recognize that the 4 corners of the earth, the 4 directions of the earth, belong to God. And he would go up and down to recognize that the heavens and the earth belong to God. But besides to that, the recognition that was gained through this action would prevent the evil winds, would prevent the evil dew that could come down from heaven. And so this act of tenufa, of waving, would serve to remind the Jew, would serve to remind him that even though, yes, I have what I need until now, the rain has come, the relationship seems to be there, but still, not everything is certain. Things could still get messed up. And in that recognition, by doing this, by bringing this Korban HaOmer, he would be machazik, would strengthen in himself. The relationship is not, there's nothing that should be taken for granted. And in this way, he would strengthen it and keep that relationship. That's what's clear from this Medrash. But a question that we could ask is, if a person has seen the rain has come, I live in Eretz Yisrael, I live here in Israel, and not every winter do we have the rain as we need it. This year we did. This year I think I read somewhere that it was every 2.5 weeks. Keseder, in order, exactly what was needed, we had that rain. But it's not always like that. There are winters where the rain just doesn't come. So a person, a Jew, living in Israel, knows that we don't necessarily have what we need, and we have what we need. How is it that a person needs, at this point, this moment, to bring this Korban HaOmer, to bring this special offering, to make sure that he doesn't forget? It seems strange. Now there's another Medrash that when we look at it and we start to examine, also it's really difficult to understand, and if we get it, we'll get something really deep here. The Medrash tells us that the Omer, the bringing of the Korban HaOmer, don't think that it's a very light mitzvah, it's not significant. Don't think that, says the Medrash. Sha'al yidei mitzvahs HaOmer, through the commandment of the Omer, Zocha Avram lirash eretz Canaan, Abraham merited to inherit the land of Canaan. The Medrash brings a proof to this from the verses. Very strange statement, though. Don't think that the Omer is insignificant. It seems like, what's the big deal? It's one Korban HaOmer, it's one offering, you bring it, that's it, you forget about it. No, we don't forget about it so fast. This is something which was a schus for Avraham, that he should inherit the land of Israel. Not only that, says the Medrash, it was a schus for Gideon in times of Gideon. He was saved because of this. Not only that, it was a schus for the Jewish people in the times of Yechizkiyahu. They were saved because of this. And it goes through numerous different circumstances. The Jewish people were in times of distress. and they were saved because of the Korban HaOmer, because of the sacrifice. And the Medrash goes into detail, very interestingly, beautiful detail, speaking about the story of Purim, and how Mordechai, he saw that Haman wanted to destroy the Jewish people, and he commanded Esther to fast, and Esther asked that all of the Jewish people fast, and they were fasting for 3 days. And when was this? Very interestingly, this story occurred actually on Pesach, on Passover. And that night, says the Medrash, the Mordechai and his students were all studying the laws of the Korban HaOmer, of the special offering of the Omer. And the Medrash goes through very interesting details. I'm not going to get into all of the details, but it says that when Haman saw that this is what they were studying, he said, if this is what you are studying, you are going to win. You're going to succeed against me. I will not be able to succeed in my plans. You are the one who are going to come out the victor. And indeed, the Medrash continues and talks about this and says that that was the bottom line. The success of the Jewish people, their salvation occurred because of the mitzvah of the Korban HaOmer. Even though they weren't actually bringing it, they didn't actually bring this offering, but still the actual discussion of the Korban HaOmer itself would also bring about a salvation, a geula, a redemption for the Jewish people. And the question is why? What is the deep significance of the Korban HaOmer? What is the power? What is the idea behind it that indeed causes the Jewish people to have such great salvation and to inherit the land of Israel? Now there's one more thing that this Medrash says which I left out because I wanted to come back to it because I believe that it holds the key for our entire conversation. The Medrash says like this. Reish Lakish Omer. Reish Lakish says, La'ilam al ti mitzvah Omer kala beinecha. Let this mitzvah, this commandment of the offering of the Omer not be light in your eyes. Shal yidei mitzvah Omer, because through the commandment of the Omer, Asa Kodesh Baruch Hu Shalom bein ish leishtei, God makes peace between man and his wife. Hevei Omer b'schus kemach sa'arim. What I mean to say is, says Reish Lakish, in the merit of the barley flour. Now, clearly this Medrash needs explanation, because what is he talking about? Peace between man and his wife, in the schus specifically of the barley flour. What's he saying? So, in explaining this, the Eitz Yosef, who's one of the Meforshim here on the Medrash, he explains like this. I want to read it to you inside. It's so beautiful. Reish Lakish Svirle Tam HaOmer. Reish Lakish holds that the reasoning, the deeper understanding of this offering of the Omer, mitzam misachdus hashchina b'Yisrael, is in order to unite the divine presence, God, with the people of Israel. Like it says in the Zohar, that the purpose of the Omer is to unify the male and female aspects of God through the people of Israel. And to distance the wind or the spirit of impurity. So here again we have a reference to this spirit or this wind, this evil wind. We'll have to see soon what that's referring to. But what is the Eitz Yosef saying? He's saying that when Reish Lakish says that the purpose of the Omer is to make peace between man and his wife, it's referring to bringing peace between the manifestation, the male manifestation, so to speak, of God, and the female manifestation, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Shechina, and between God, as it were, and the Jewish people, who are also, in a certain sense, God represents the male aspect, the Jewish people represents the female aspect. And it's through the schus, through the merit of the kemach sa'arim, of the barley flour. What does that mean? So he shows us that there's another place, which we mentioned before, where we have this barley flour. For the same reason as we have it over here, when it came to the Sotah, when it came to the wayward wife, she also brought an offering of barley flour. Because it was in order to show if the woman was indeed innocent, to prove her innocence, to show that she was a kosher woman, that she was okay. And if she was someone who indeed had sinned with this man, it was to distance her, to cause her to be embarrassed, and to cause her a deserved death. This is what it means that through the mitzvah of Omer, it brings peace. Now, I want to ask just 2 more questions, and then with the answers to these questions, we'll start to unravel and understand all of the questions that we asked until now. The first question is, think about this woman, okay? This woman is a wayward wife. She has defied her husband. She's been alone with a man that she was told not to. And let's say she had done something wrong. Let's say she had relations with this man. And now she's brought in front of everyone. She's humiliated. Her hair is uncovered. Her clothes are pulled down. She not in a way where she's completely unclothed, but in a way where her heart is revealed. That's the Gemara says. And she's really embarrassed. Now, why would she go through this? If she indeed did something wrong, why would she be willing to drink these waters and remain in a defiant state to the end and then be destroyed by it and die a horrible death? Where's that willingness? Why is she doing that? And on the other side of it, another interesting question is that the Eitz Yosef refers to her as Kshera. If she didn't actually sin with the man, if she didn't actually have relations with him, she's called an Isha Kshera. And we're going to create Shalom bias. We're going to bring them back into a state of love. And the question is, what's going on here? I mean, obviously, this woman indeed defied her husband. It's not possible to be standing and drinking this waters and going through this whole embarrassment, this humiliation, unless she had done something wrong. Unless she had been seen alone with this man. She may not have had relations with him, but she still did something wrong. Why is she referred to as an Isha Kshera? Why is the Torah how is this going to bring them back into a state of shalom, a state of peace between man and his wife? And I think that the root of what's going on here is the concept of the ruches rois, the tlalim roim, these evil winds, and this poor dew is a reflection of the defiance of this woman. This woman has a relationship with her husband, and what does she do with it? She throws it away. And she feels perhaps like her husband isn't giving her what she needs, isn't perhaps, being the husband that she wants, and she seeks to find it somewhere else. And she defies her commitment. She defies her relationship with her husband. Now, practically, this can have 2 different endings. When she does this, one thing could happen is that she could end up having relations with another man, destroying herself, destroying her commitments, destroying her children's lives, destroying her household, as the Gemara says. That's one possibility. But there's another possibility. And that is that her husband can see, hey, I'm not giving my wife what she needs. She's obviously going elsewhere because there's something wrong with how I am interacting with her. And the net result can be that the husband takes to heart what's going on and indeed starts to give her what she needs. And she starts to realize that she can get what she needs in the place where she made her commitment. She doesn't need to go elsewhere. Now, why, if she indeed didn't do anything wrong, why does she have to be humiliated in this way? And I think that part of the reason is because when a person has a defiance, the Torah wants them to realize, God wants them to realize that there's a purpose for that defiance. And the defiance can't go for me to say, I'm going to just completely break off my relationship now. But rather the defiance needs to say, look, you're not giving me what I need. And I need to get what I need. I'm a human being. I have needs. And so if a person takes it in the wrong direction, that defiance needs to be humiliated. The person who has that defiance needs to be humiliated. What is humiliation? I once heard it said by a spiritual mentor of mine, humility and humble means living with the truth. Humiliation is being caught not conforming or not being in line with the truth. And so this woman is doing something wrong with her defiance. And so when a person is humiliated, when a person is caught or shown in public to be doing something wrong, it burns off the defiance. It serves to take away the defiance. A woman who goes through this process, she can't but come out on the other end. You think she's going to go back to that man again that she was cheating with or that she was spending time with against the will of her husband? She didn't have relations with him, but you think she's going to go back there? No, she won't. Because that defiance that was within her gets burned off by this humiliation. And so this creates shalom. This creates peace Now, think of this in terms, let's draw a parallel between that and the relationship between the Jewish people and God. You know, the Jewish people are in this relationship with God, and God says, here's the rain. Here's everything that you need. And at a certain point, we spoke about on Pesach for the concept of Passover, that Pesach is all about hisbatlus. I'm completely giving myself up. I'm nothing in front of God. There's only so long that a person can say, I'm nothing in front of God. You can do that for a week. You can eat matzah for a week. The day after Pesach, you're right back into the chametz. You have to start eating that bread again. You can't be in that state for too long. Complete hisbatlus. What about me? Where am I? Just like that woman, that Sotah. She says, what about my needs? Where am I? The Jew also says that. God, you've given me everything. But what about me? Where do I get to be involved in this relationship? So one direction a person can go is, no, it's all me. I'm going to prove to you, God, that I can do this on my own. And that causes the minchas Sotah. That brings about a woman who gets destroyed. But there's another direction that's possible. And that is for a person to say, God, I give it up. I give it up. I give up my animal nature. I give up my baseness. I give up my defiance. I give it to you. On Pesach, the Jewish people experienced incredible miracles. There was no Eigenkeit. There was no selfness. I was gone. If you're there, you see these miracles, you're gone. There's no bechira. There's no more free will. But then what do they say? They say, wait, where are we here? Where am I here in this relationship? If I don't have any free will, so then it's just God. There's no me. And that's why you find, as the Torah speaks about the journey of the Jewish people as they get to Har Sinai, before they get there, they're complaining there's no water. They're complaining there's no food. And there's complaints, and there's the magic. That moment is gone. But there's a korban ha'omer, and there's a sfiras ha'omer. There's this offering of the Omer, and there's a counting. We count and continue to remember, and we count to 7 to continue to bring back to ourselves, what is this all about? What is the defiance about? What is this ego about? It's not there for me to go off the deep end. It's there for me to give it back to God, to give up my Eigenkeit, my selfishness. I don't deserve the land of Israel. I don't deserve Geula, redemption, but I can tap into that by bringing a sacrifice, by bringing an offering which says, I give up my baseness. I give up this animal fodder, this kemach sa'irim. I give that up. I'm willing to humiliate myself, admit that I am just a person, that I'm just a human being with human frailties, with human defiance. And you've given me so much, and I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to take away from it. What are these ruchos rois? What are these evil winds, tlalim raim, these evil dews? What is that? That's a manifestation. If I get stuck in thinking this is about me, God, I want to do this myself. You gave me all this water. Okay, that's enough. I found my parking spot. That's all right. I don't need your help anymore. If I get stuck in that, I can ruin it, and that can manifest in things that will actually destroy, cause ill effect to the wheat that I thought is mine, the wheat that I thought that I did. Even though I know God did it, but I want to prove it to myself. So in order to stop those winds, in order to stop a manifestation in the world of my ego, I need to give up my ego. That's the korban ha'omer. And it's specifically that korban, that offering which counterbalances, counteracts a Haman. Haman, he comes from Amalek, and the essence of their being is defiance of God. To the end, they are the Sotah who has given their soul to the devil, so to speak. They have indeed gone away from God. The only way to counteract that is with an admission, a giving up of my defiance, a giving up of my animal nature, a giving up of my need to be in control, to need to be part of the relationship, so to speak. There's a giving up that happens when I bring the korban ha'omer. And it's easy to bring that korban ha'omer on Pesach. It's easy then, because the miracles are manifest. For me to say that I give myself up to God, that's very easy. But can I keep counting to 7? 7 representing, I give up myself to God. I'm not going to do anything here. The 7th day is Shabbos. 6 days I work. 7th day I'm quiet. 7th day I receive. Can I do that 7 times? Can I keep getting to 7 times? That's the work of sfiras ha'omer, the counting, of this aspect of giving myself up and giving myself up again and giving up my defiance one more time. And it's through this act of giving it up, the humiliation that I experience when I recognize that I'm a person. I feel embarrassed. Look at the things that I'm doing. Look at the defiance that I have. My God, I give that up to you. God, I give it up to you. No, I don't know how to get past it. God, I give it to you. You take care of this. In that statement, in that work, this is the work from Pesach until Shavuos. In that work, we merit. We get to have a true relationship with Hashem. We get to merit to bring the divine presence together with the Jewish people, as it says in this medrash. We get to merit for Shalom, to have peace between man and his wife. Just like the Sotah comes out of the humiliation, and now the defiance is burned off of her, so too the Carbon Omer serves to do that for us as well. And by counting the Sfiras Omer and reminding ourselves of this lesson, we can bring this into our lives and have a true relationship with Hashem, where indeed we receive the Torah. I want to bless you. Please bless me back that Hashem should help us take this message to heart. Help us get this idea. Help us internalize this idea. Be able to give up that part of us, that defiant part of us, that wayward wife which is within each and every one of us. Hashem should bless us with a true relationship with Him. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.